Hello, my name is Shannon Cooley. I am deaf and a graphic designer. I'm here today to debunk the common misconception that graphic designers have it easy. We don't. We don't just open up our computers, do the design, and then just send it off. But before I go deeper into that, I want to give you a bit of my background and why I decided to become a graphic designer. Though I am deaf, I was born into a hearing family, and since my family was in the military, we moved all over the US. As a child, I was always drawing, so much so that I was not paying attention to the outside world. I would draw people or just doodle. And growing up, I went to a school with other hearing children. And it wasn't until my last 2 years of the school that I went to a school for the deaf, and this was a huge culture shock. But amongst all this, I took notice of this computer class. Technology has really changed over time. Now we have newer keyboards, texting capabilities, and iPads. In my day, we had computers that were literally a big block, hard as a rock. On top of that, we had to use floppy disks with a storage capacity of around 1.2 megabytes. Well, it was less than 1.5, so it was small for that. Compare this to today's USB that can hold 16 to 32 gigabytes, and it's so small that you can put it in your pocket. So I continued to learn, specifically with X and Y color pixels, and I would say that this was the start of my graphic design career. Even my professors saw my potential and manifested that I would become a graphic designer working in advertisement. Of course, at the time, I had no idea what they saw. So I eventually graduated high school and went straight to Gallaudet University. When I arrived, I noticed many other people, my peers, had declared majors, but I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I knew I was interested in drawing, but Gallaudet is a liberal arts university. They had graphic design, but I still didn't know what I wanted to do at the time, and the doubt set in. I considered maybe a major in psychology, but that didn't feel like a good fit. So I met with the chairperson of the art department to talk about my options and voice my concerns. They asked me a few questions and realized that I would be a good candidate for the graphic arts design major. When they explained to me exactly what graphic design the major was, I knew that it was a perfect match with what I wanted to do. I love drawing, and I also found that I'm tech savvy working with computers. It was a perfect match, so I declared my major, secured an internship as well, and I was able to graduate with my bachelor's degree in graphic design. After that, I was thrilled to be hired by a printing company that was run by hearing people. This was the first time I realized my identity as a graphic designer and a deaf person. I was learning a lot of things from my team, and being that we were servicing the local community, I was responsible for the layouts, printing the layouts, which could be 16 to 32 layouts at a time. And again, this was small for a small local community, so I was responsible for arranging different articles and ensuring the right authors' names connected to their articles. I was responsible for gathering ads from different vendors like ice cream companies, flower shops, different restaurants in the area, even though some companies didn't have ads. So those companies that didn't have ads, I approached them and asked them if they wanted to instead do my services instead of a 6-month subscription. And they agreed that this was a good idea. And we won their business, which in turn helped my employer. As I started working on designs, I really enjoyed using my creativity for the ads. They also had seasonal pull-out work. So an example for that would be with each season, fall, winter, spring, and summer. Each of those has events within those times. For winter, you have Christmas, which means snow, dinners, trees with decoration lighting. For spring, there's Easter and Easter egg hunts. For summer, people go camping, go to water parks, and do water sports. Fall also has events as well, so it fits into whatever seasonal pullout we need. I worked with this company for a while and enjoyed my experience. I decided to become a freelancer, and that's what propelled my skills, but challenged me as I had to work with clients. I set up my rules and my rates, and through client interactions, I realized I had to educate them about what a graphic designer does, because the misconception that comes with it instantly pops into their head. This segues to my original point about graphic design and what it truly means to be a graphic designer. It means the process of art and how two worlds, text and graphics, combine to make communication pieces. What do I mean by communication pieces? Think about a logo. Companies all over, like Pepsi, Nike, Coke, they have logos. There are agencies and nonprofit organizations that want to reflect to the public what their organization stands for, their character, their on-the-ground work, and who they support. Of course, it's not limited to just this. It ranges from working on personal designs like wedding logo, which some people do that, to monograms. The work is very diverse. For example, we work on catalogs, newspapers, magazines, newsletters, signs, posters. We even work on flyers and ads, of course. We can design billboards that go outside for all to see, or even something that goes on a wall. So we could go from something that big to something as small as promotional products, patches on a shirt, a hat, a backpack, keychains or coffee cup labels. Also stationary items such as business cards, letterheads, and envelopes. There's a variety. From everything we have discussed, you might be wondering, what software do graphic designers use to design? Of course, we use computers. I prefer to use a Mac, but I also have a PC. I use it just the same. Software is key for graphic design, and not all, but most graphic designing companies use Adobe. Adobe has many programs, but the main two I work with is Illustrator and Photoshop. I also use Flash Developer to make changes and other programs for picture editing, like Photoshop, but I try to match the program to what my need is for that project. I mainly design and draw using those two softwares. And I have, programs as well, like Microsoft, and I can make a simple change there for the client. And with those softwares, I can convert almost any file to the format I want. Like, for example, converting a JPEG to a PDF and vice versa, or even a GIF. You know how there's the small label at the end of a file? That's the part you can change. And there are so many conversions, let me tell you. But anyways, the software I use is very important, as well as the tools I use to help me design things exactly the way I want to. And of course you're thinking, perfect, this is easy. No, not really. It's a process. Let's say you go to an art store or a thrift store, or even Walmart has them, and you notice the paintbrush section. Is there typically an array, or is there just one or two brushes? There's an array, right? There's different brands, different companies who make the brands, and even it comes down to the brushes themselves are diverse. You know how painters who get a vision of their painting know exactly which brushes to pick for the painting? I don't have that experience as a graphic designer. I have to draw it, scan it, and then continue to work on it out in the real world. And my designs do become useful because the tools help me to find the exact changes I want. Especially when there's a scratch on the design. Before, when that used to happen, you would have to create different versions and continue to upgrade it. And because I use it so much, I've now found that it's easy to make changes, right? And improve the work? No. The graphic designer community has to stop being so stuck in their ways and work hard to tweak and critique their work. This is also due to the customers constantly requesting changes as well. This results in me not being satisfied with my work, and then I get frustrated and have to take a break and walk away. This helps me come back with a new set of fresh ideas And you would think that this is a smooth process from then, but you struggle through only to end up throwing it all out. This can be on the computer, but it depends on how complicated the program is, because sometimes it's a breeze and sometimes it's not. The tools are a huge help, and I have several filters that I like to use that are also helpful. For example, when I'm using layers to cut out on time, being that each layer has a design connected to it. So that means if you're looking at this screen, you see a graphic, right? But behind that graphic are so many layers. This is because if a client does not like the color, maybe peeking out from behind, they see a purple that they don't like, I can go into that specific layer to change the color. And it's easy for me to do that, easier for me to do that. Once the client is satisfied, and it's not easy for you, but once the client is satisfied and all my work is done, I print it, and of course that's not the final product. Sometimes when you print, it doesn't match what was on your computer screen, and it's awful. The screen has red, green, and blue lights, while the ink from the printer uses colors blue, red, yellow, and black, and those simply don't match. It's always a good idea to print before sending it in to a client. If I'm not careful, the client ends up coming back and blaming me. And that's why it's important to ensure that you and your client are both on the same page. And again, I want to emphasize graphic design is not easy. I have to deal with pressures and deadlines, clients changing their minds at a moment's notice. You have to check in with your clients to make sure you're both on the same page. And like I said, sometimes you just need to walk away. That could be for a few minutes, maybe a few hours, even a few days, depending on your process. It's good to go out and become inspired by the world. Even a simple chat could give you a new idea of what the person you were talking to said and how that applies to your work. You could use some of the tools you learned through your education, and yes, education comes in handy for the work I do now. My ideas really can start to flow. I start a project and I'm able to translate my vision onto the project. Other times I can't fix it and I have to throw it out altogether. Then add in the clients and the customer service, everything with a smile mentality. Then add on to that, my creativity and vision has to satisfy what the customer wants and needs, but at the same time for me, I need to be able to enjoy my work even when it's tough. There are sometimes printing issues. If a company requests a logo to be printed on a gray shirt, for example, and the colors don't mix well, the company actually helps in this process because they're knowledgeable enough to review the project and send it back to me. So this is a team effort to make sure everyone is satisfied. Craig Ward is a very experienced and well-known graphic designer. He's been working for many years. He knows how to interact with an array of customers very well. He wrote some storybooks detailing the stories of graphic designers, and this is a quote from him. It says, "Shaking our heads as the file uploads, wondering if there was something we could have done for it to be better." Not only does that quote apply, but if the client doesn't approve, we have to start all over again. You may even get into a disagreement with the client, and if in the aftermath of that, the client refuses to pay you. To go along with that quote, Ward designed several posters which were not meant to be offensive, showing that people all over the world, not just customers, have a common misconception about what graphic designers do. People think we sit back in our chairs, work by ourselves on the computer, and it's just that easy. Well, I'm here to tell you it's not. After this presentation, you may start to notice more small publications made by graphic designers. And if you do start to notice, recognize and appreciate the hard work that we're doing. because we're people too. And question it. Ask yourself, I wonder where they got that inspiration from. There are so many diverse pieces of art out there. Think about the clothes you've seen that have had so many intricacies. Imagine how much work someone put into that. Remember the process I explained in the beginning? It's tough. It's not easy. It's appeasing to your eyes because of the hard work that we've invested into it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you.